Well, our Chief Foreign Affairs Editor, Rob Parsons, is with me to talk about that meeting. And Rob, some relatively measured language from both men there, but tensions have been ramping up enormously, haven't they, over Ukraine? What do you make of what we've been hearing today out of Stockholm?
Well, I mean, the context is very important, all important to what's been happening in Stockholm today. This is the highest level meeting since that June meeting between Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden. And the context is what you referred to just now, that massive Russian troop build-up along the border with Ukraine, 90,000, perhaps even more than that, men and equipment as well, building up along that border. The Russians saying somewhat disingenuously that what they do with their troops inside their own borders is entirely their own affair. That was exactly what they said, incidentally, in 2008, before the Russo-Georgian War, when it was noted that they were building up thousands and thousands of troops along the border with Georgia, the northern border with Georgia's northern border with Russia, and conducting military exercises. And sure enough, in August of that year, the Russians invaded. That clearly is the concern on the Ukrainian side, although Sergei Lavrov made it fairly clear that that's not what Russia is planning at this stage. But that really, I think, provides the context that there is concern too, it has to be said, on the Russian side about what NATO is doing, about the possibility. These are not just spurious concerns on the Russian part either, concerns that NATO is planning to move further eastwards to include Ukraine within its ranks. That really would be, I think, the red line for Russia. At this point, what NATO is saying is, look, despite your request, it's really our decision whether we take whether Ukraine wants or can become a member of NATO. It's got nothing to do with Russia, and that's really where they are at the moment. I think a lot of the discussions between the two men this afternoon will have revolved around that issue of whether or not something could be agreed on whether Ukraine should or should not become a member of NATO.
And as we said, that meeting just wrapping up, we'll get more details from it as soon as we do. But Rob, let's talk a bit more then about the situation on the ground. This is, as you said, a very large build-up of Russian troops. There's concern, of course, of more fighting in eastern Ukraine. And there are lots of analysts who say, actually, it's not really in Russia's interest to invade Ukraine at this time.
Well, probably not. First of all, it's not the season for fighting. It's going to be intensely cold very soon. And that will make life difficult, particularly if there's a lot of snow. So I don't think that the Russians will be planning a major operation at this time. And it also could be very costly as well, because the Ukrainian armed forces are much better equipped, much better trained than they were in the past. So, I think the Russians are most likely thinking at this stage of upping the ante with the Ukrainians, putting pressure on them, making the sort of noises which they might imagine will go down well for a domestic audience, because these are not good times inside Russia at the moment. COVID has played a big part in the country. It's been setting the economy back. Sanctions have set the economy back, although the Russians have been quite clever about the way they've managed to reinvigorate the economy despite sanctions. But the fact of the matter is that things are not looking good. Living standards are back to where they were 8, 9, 10 years ago. People are losing faith in Vladimir Putin. A distraction like the distraction in the war in the invasion of Crimea or the war with Georgia, might go down well at home. But I think it's too risky. I think really what the Russians are looking for here is to remind the West of what those red lines are and ensure that they're never crossed.
Rob Parsons, thank you very much.